Thank you, President Chu. Colleagues, Supervisor Ellsberg and I introduced our charter amendment to replace ranked choice voting with runoff elections last November for a number of reasons. And I know much has been written, much has been talked about since then, and we've had great discussion in the Rules Committee. I want to commend also my colleagues who also have supported a different, maybe opposing a charter amendment, but really for a great dialogue about this issue. But I want to remind folks why we introduced it and why I feel so strongly about it. And to me, there are a number of reasons. First of all, I do believe in the principle of a majority vote. To me, that's how we've been elected, how this country has started elections decades ago, centuries ago in this country, and I believe it's something we should continue here in San Francisco. Second of all, the concept of choice. As many folks expressed during last year's mayoral campaign, despite I think we had a great outcome, many people felt, combined with our public financing system the way it is, and I know there are a lot of amendments potentially in place that I think are great, we don't have a real choice when we ended up voting for someone and for our mayor last year. That, to me, is so important. They feel that we had a huge field that people weren't able to express their opinions, and to have a real choice about who people vote for at the end of the day is such an important thing. And perhaps the main thing from my point of view is the notion of voter confusion. To me, it's anecdotal, talking to people on the street, people in my district and other districts throughout San Francisco. People still remain confused about ranked choice voting. How does it work? And that's demonstrated in poll after poll, where the majority of people every single time either don't answer it correctly when asked how ranked choice voting works or admit that they don't know how it works. Again, we should be focusing on who to vote for, what to vote for, not how to vote, in my opinion. And what that ultimately leads to is disenfranchisement here in our city. Statistics have shown, and a number of studies that are being conducted right now will ultimately show in the upcoming months, and that demonstrates minorities and residents of lower socioeconomic communities here in San Francisco have a disproportionate amount of their ballots literally thrown into the garbage cans because they are marked incorrectly as overvotes. To me, that is simply unacceptable, a system that we cannot continue to promote in our city that disenfranchises our voters like that. To me, it's the most anti-democratic thing that we can do as a city. Now, nothing is perfect. No voting system is perfect. I'll admit this. A runoff system is not perfect, but to me, ranked choice voting is exactly the type of thing that we need to end in our city. Countless jurisdictions that have enacted ranked choice voting throughout our country have repealed it. And today, colleagues, I hope that you give this a chance to go to the ballot in front of our voters so that we can do the same here in our city.
Thank you. Just want to go on record about ranked choice voting. There are, in the most recent past, I think people, when they think about ranked choice voting, they think most specifically about the District 10 race, where there were a total of 22 candidates in the race. And one of the things that I certainly took away some valuable lessons learned, but one thing that I do want to speak to Supervisor Ellsberg, Supervisor Farrell's issue about votes being tossed out. I agree that I am uncomfortable with votes being tossed out. However, I believe that it's more of a correlation to people being not entirely educated on the exact method and the correct way to fill out ballots, as well as to it could also be a correlation to a literacy rate, to literacy rate. There are many things. I don't believe that it just has to do with ranked choice voting. When we talk about ranked choice voting, I mean, I liken it to the tax code. We file our taxes on an annual basis, don't we? I do. I don't know about you, but I file my, and I don't understand exactly the tax code. I don't understand each and every of the individual formulas. But there are some things that I do because I know that that is the way things work. For example, laws of gravity. Not quite clear exactly scientifically, but I know if I jump off the desk, I will hit the ground. So when it comes to ranked choice voting, as well as it comes to the theory of relativity and gravity, we can educate ourselves and we can learn more about these systems. I am concerned about the money that is spent in elections. I believe that money has the ability to influence the direction of an election, and I believe that ranked choice voting actually helps to some degree minimize the impact of a high donor or many donors turning out and trying to influence the money. I would support words that Supervisor Chu and Supervisor Kim spoke earlier about putting putting this issue on a November ballot. I think it's important that we have an electorate that's not only educated but also create a situation where it is most advantageous that we will get the greatest number of people to weigh in on this very important item. Thank you.
Oh, Supervisor Farrell.
Thanks. Just a few points of the questions that have been raised. First of all, the notion of more education. You guys, we've had 10 years. How much more education do we need to do? People remain confused. I just don't understand what we're going to spend millions and millions of more dollars of a system that we know does not work. Second of all, I appreciate the data that Supervisor Marr and Campos laid forward, but I too can read a Stephen Hill email and repeat it to the full Board of Supervisors. And as we've seen, Mr. Hill has disgraced himself in his inflammatory advocacy of this issue here at the Board of Supervisors. I think cherry-picking data, from my point of view, is disingenuous. If you're going to talk about all these separate issues in different cities, we need to talk about every single race in every single city to get a comprehensive point of view. You can't cherry-pick them and try and mislead the public. To me, that is a horrible way to approach it. Third, you talk about it's working. You know what? I'd love to see the 2,000 people that voted in last year's November elections, bring them into these chambers and say, you know what? It's working. Your votes were tossed in the garbage, but it's working. It's okay that your votes were tossed in the garbage. From our point of view, it's okay that it was tossed in the garbage. To me, I don't think we'd be willing to do that. To me, it's not working. That doesn't say we're working. Fourth, we talked about money. Yes, having another election costs more money, but there's certain things that we do, everything we do in City Hall is a statement about what we're willing to spend money on. To me, protecting the right to vote is something I'll spend money on every single day. And lastly, I just think it's a shame that we don't send this to the ballot. We let the voters decide. This is a big issue in our city, and Supervisor Kim and everyone else is right. Moderates and progressives. I've had moderates come to me and progressives that love it. I've had moderates and progressives that don't like it. So I don't think it cuts across lines, but we're having this vote today, and it seems to be doing that. And to me, it's a shame we don't send it to the voters and we try and play, parlor antics here at the Board of Supervisors. But it is what it is, and we'll live to fight another day. But I just want to be clear about some of my arguments.